And here's the host of your show, Joe Steckler. Hi, Joe.
Hi, John. Thank you very much. And, I've been doing radio shows with you for over 20 years now. And if I had to pick a panel that I would probably really enjoy doing a show with more than almost any others is this morning. And with me in the studio, of course, is Dr. Kerry Fink of TYG Media, and Kerry is our media director for the organization. But our guests this morning are two people that are both very close to me. And one, I've been knowing her for a long time, and I have a story to tell about her this morning. But it's Jennifer Helin from Seniors Helping Seniors, and I'll let her talk about what she does. And John Roberts, who is the owner of Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center. Did I get that right, John? Yeah, Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center.
Yes.
And John's a family business, and he's going to talk about hearing aids. And I like that he was one of the things he would talk about is wax removal. And I got a story to tell because I can relate to that very, very, very closely. But the purpose of our show is to inform, educate, and connect seniors to services that they really need. And you need people like Seniors Helping Seniors, and you need a hearing aid expert a lot more than you know. You just don't know if you've ever had your ears properly cared for, treated. You don't know if you are receiving the best receptor signals that you could. And John, could you elaborate on that a little bit more about people hearing the signals, and if your ears are clean, it opens up new horizons, doesn't it?
Yes. The fact is that if you have any type of an obstruction in the ear canal, which most commonly would be wax, or as it's known in the field as cerumen, it's natural and healthy to have a certain amount of wax in your ear canal. And at some point it can build up to the point that it can actually block audio signals from making their way into the eardrum to be processed by the inner ear. When that happens, you may notice that you're just not hearing well, or that you can hear people but you're not understanding what they're saying, or that people seem to be mumbling. The symptoms are identical to a sensorineural nerve loss or a conductive hearing loss. So just because you're not hearing well doesn't necessarily mean that you can diagnose yourself with needing hearing aids. You may just need to get that wax taken out. This is something that you really should have a professional do, because the inner ear is a very sensitive little area to be playing around in. And we have a camera that we go in there and show you what's in your ear if there is an obstruction. And once we diagnose that there is a problem, we have various methods that we can use to get that wax out. Once we get the wax or any other obstructions out of the ear, then we can do a real hearing test and get an accurate result and determine if you do in fact have any other issues.
I was hoping that you would say that, because Terry, my wife, had commented one time, it was a couple of years ago. She said, "You're not hearing me." I said, "Terry, I'm doing the very best I can. I can't do anything different." And went out to the VA, and of course that's where I get my hearing aids, from the Veterans Center. And the audiologists looked up in my ear, and in the hair follicles way up in the ear, there was wax. And she got that out, and it was like a world of difference. And she said, "Mr. Steckler, you never would have been able to get that out."
That's right. It's something that you don't want to go digging in there, trying to get something out of your ear if you don't really know what you're doing. I really don't recommend the over-the-counter wax removal kits for most people. Most people should just come in and have a professional do it. It's a service that we'll do for about $35 an ear. It's not a major expense. But it can be very important to have that done right and to eliminate that as a problem.
John, I have a question. Are some people more susceptible to wax buildup, and is there a difference between men and women with that?
Yeah, people do have varying amounts of susceptibility to earwax. A lot of it has to do with the amount of oil, sebaceous oil that your ear canal produces. The purpose of earwax is to stop the ear from accumulating foreign objects in the atmosphere. If we didn't have a way to remove that, our ears would become completely full of impacted at some point. So the ear canal secretes a oil, and then when the dust or in particulates mix with that oil, they form a substance that we call wax because that's what it looks like. It's actually cerumen. And there's little hairs that Joe was just mentioning that are deep in the ear canal that will just gradually push those little bits of wax out of the ear. So when you shower or when you reach up and touch your ear, it gets removed from the ear canal. That's how our body cleans our ear canals. There should be nothing more necessary to clean your ear canals. You shouldn't be taking shower water and shooting it inside of your ear or using Q-tips or other mechanisms to remove the earwax. Your ears should do that naturally. As far as the people that may produce more wax than necessary, actually those people are healthy. The problem comes when people don't produce earwax and they have dried out ear canals or other problems. Certain diets will cause an increase in earwax, and just the amount of oil that you produce naturally can be a factor. I don't know about men versus women. I really don't know.
But, John, people listening to us, every time, excuse me, every time when we bring a new guest onto the show, and one of the things they think, question, we got a buzz okay, and for a person to, you mentioned ear cleaning, $35. For a person to go in, say to go to the Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center, I'm interested in this myself. If you go in and just say, I want a general checkup, I want you to look at my ears, see what needs to be done, tell me if I've got problems. Can you look in there and can you tell if a person has got problems coming up that they need to address?
Well, yeah, Joe, if you would like to come to our office, the first thing that we would do is do a questionnaire about your health history and any experiences or thoughts that you may have that might contribute to any problems. We take a camera, it's called a video otoscope, and we put that into your ear canal, and you can look at our widescreen TV, and you'll actually see your eardrum. And that's how we can diagnose and share with you any problems that you might have besides earwax. Now, that's simply a viewing of the ear canal. It doesn't tell us what's going on with your hearing or with any problems that you might have. So once we've established that you don't have a problem with any obstructions, then we would put you into a sound room, a soundproof room, and do a complete audiological evaluation, a good hearing test. Now, Joe, we do all of this at no charge. So this is something that we offer anybody that comes into our office at any time. It's a free service, and it's very valuable. Once you've established what your hearing levels are, even if you don't have a hearing loss, maybe in a couple of years you will, but we have a baseline now so that we can compare that as the years go by. So even if you don't have a hearing loss, it's a good idea to come in, get a free hearing test. If you're okay, come back every couple of years and we'll update those. But that is something that we will offer you or any of your listeners or anybody that calls us or walks into our office. That's a service that we provide at no charge, Joe.
Well, this is interesting because, and Kerry and Jennifer, please feel free to make a comment. I don't want to dominate the show, but since I can't hear, I probably know more about this than either one of you do. I'm only joking. I'm joking because you have to put up with me and talk to me. But I could see the advantage, John, of having a baseline and having what you're telling me is something that a company, a private entrepreneur like you that has a business, a small business, you got one office, you can do things that these big companies that have all these paper ads with a dozen different hearing aids on there, offering anything from $99 to $5,000. You can do things actually the big companies don't do, because of all the hearing problems I've had in tests. I've been doing this for years. I've never had the veterans clinics do anything in my ears like you're talking about.
Yeah, that's interesting. The VA is the biggest supplier of hearing aids in the United States right now. I believe they fit something like 25% of all hearing aids that are fit in the United States. And of course, they do a wonderful job, and their services are free. I believe there are stipulations regarding what you were tested at discharge, that you may have had a loss incurred in the course of being a veteran. And the VA can do a good job. We are in the process of taking up some of the load that the VA can't handle, and that's their biggest problem. Is that when you go to the VA, you've probably experienced this. I believe you get there early in the morning for your appointment, and then you wait until your name is called. With our office, if you can't get an appointment at the VA with the new laws that have been passed, you can go to a private dispenser of your choice. So if you come to our office, we'll do all the same services. You might not have to wait for them, and we can give you what we feel is a little more maybe personal service with our staff and the amount of the equipment that we have in our office. And we strictly work with hearing loss. We don't have other medical procedures that an audiologist might normally deal with in a situation like that. So I believe we can be more attentive to you.
Hey, Kerry's bursting. What do you want to say, Kerry?
Well, I was just going to say, to kind of dovetail on this conversation, the fact is that we're here in COVID-19 times, and so we're all in the studio. We're wearing our masks. We're doing our best with social distancing and all that.
Get out of Jennifer's lap,
And one of the key things, though, this was a conversation we had actually when I was doing a Helping Seniors update with John the other day. And he reminded me, he said, they're talking now about us wearing masks for maybe even a couple of years. And so one of the things that I hadn't thought about is that if you're having trouble hearing now, it has to be like tenfold worse because you can't take visual cues from the people around you. And so as we're wearing masks, it seems even more important than ever to have your hearing checked. And especially, just like John was explaining, is there isn't a charge to come in and get sort of the process rolling. And it just seems even more valuable of a thing that you're doing now, John, than maybe even pre-COVID.
Absolutely, Kerry. I can't tell you the amount of anxiety that we're seeing in our patients lately. Hearing loss is all about stress. When you're having difficulty with communicating with other people, people treat you differently. If you've ever been around somebody with a hearing loss, it can be very challenging not to get upset because you might think the person is not paying attention to you or continually having to repeat yourself. This is the stress that anybody with even a mild hearing loss is experiencing every day. The number one risk for early onset dementia has to do with isolation. And hearing loss, Johns Hopkins University did a study a few years ago, and they determined that even a mild hearing loss can result in an increased risk of over 100% for early onset dementia. With a moderate hearing loss, that can be a few 100%, and with a moderate to severe loss, that can be much higher. The top 10 symptoms of dementia are the same as the top 10 symptoms of hearing loss. So this is a stressful disease to have. It's something that other people do not understand. And you said you don't hear much about hearing loss. It's something that's not really discussed as much as it should be. But the COVID-19 has added to these problems more than anything I've seen in my 30-year career. People go to the gas station or go to a store, and I have normal hearing, but there's often times when I can't understand what somebody is saying with these masks on. A lot of people refer to that as lip reading, but we call it speech reading because your emotions are sent through your facial expressions and your eyes and your mouth and your whole face together. And these are the only tools that some people may have to interpret what's being shared with them. So the inability added by these masks and just the anxiety from the COVID itself has really doubled or more the problems in anxiety and isolation that people with hearing loss are experiencing every day. And this is something that we need to be aware of, Kerry.
John, I'm so happy to hear you say the correlation between the hearing loss and early onset dementia. That's something near and dear to my heart. I'm a certified dementia practitioner, and of course, dealing with our clients at Seniors Helping Seniors, we see that loss of social interaction because someone can't hear. So they kind of withdraw unintentionally, but they stop interacting as much as they used to because they can't hear and they don't want to keep repeating what did you say? I'm sorry, could you repeat that? So they stop reaching out and talking to people, and it's a slow spiral downwards. So I'm glad that you're bringing that out to light, and it's really important for people to have that proper hearing. And we see it all the time. Do you have hearing aids? Oh no. Well, that is not a bad thing. We want you to be able to hear so you can interact and you can live more independently longer.
Boy, that's right. And I know the great work that you're doing with dementia patients. It is not a process that people do intentionally. You're right, but it is a process that grows with each interaction, and we get our defense mechanisms up when people don't treat us the way that we think that they should be treating us. And as a dementia patient, you're fighting with an awful lot of problems, but to have this unending feeling that people are just not in tune with your feelings or your emotions can be devastating. It can just do nothing but add to the problems. And if somebody is going to get tested for dementia, or they feel like they might have a problem with dementia, before they do that, they probably should get a hearing test, because a lot of these tests are done verbally. And if they're not hearing what's being asked of them, that could alter their results. So my opinion is that if you're going to get tested for dementia, or you have a problem with your memory, get your hearing tested first. It's free. It just takes a few minutes, and it can't do any harm.
Absolutely.
Well, let me speak from a person that has hearing loss. When you're around a group of people and you want to understand what they're saying, and you simply can't understand some of the consonants. The hard vowels are hard to understand sometimes. I had my granddaughter repeat a word 7 times over the telephone before I ever understood it. And people don't understand, it's not just the sound level that's involved, it's the sound interpretation that's also equally involved.
Joe, what you're expressing can only be expressed by somebody that has experienced a hearing loss. Quite often when I ask somebody, what kind of problems are you having, they say, I can hear, but I just can't understand. With your daughter, your granddaughter, she also has a soft, high-pitched voice, and quite often hearing losses involve the higher frequencies. But there's another factor to a hearing loss that people are not very aware of. We call that speech distortion. You don't hear with your ears, you hear with your brain. The ears are a mechanism to send that sound to the audiological processing centers in our brain, which happen to be above the temple on each side of the brain. Humans are the only mammal that has an audio processing part of the brain. Now, after you've gone a period of time without getting the right audio input, the brain begins to mix signals together. You were mentioning consonants and vowels. Well, if you look at certain consonants like the letters S, T, F, and fricatives like SH, ST, CH, if they all sound the same, which is what happens as a result of a high-frequency hearing loss, the brain will begin to meld them together, and that's called speech distortion. Now, with modern hearing aid technology, we can bring those soft, high-frequency sounds to the brain, but there is something that has to be considered. If you have put off a hearing loss for many years, and we do a speech test and we determine that you have a lot of permanent distortion, your results are going to be limited compared with somebody that bought their hearing aids from the right provider and had them monitored over the years. That speech discrimination is a real problem. You may know people that wear hearing aids, but they still don't hear you. Their hearing aids are squealing, they can't hear them squealing, they're always asking you to repeat, or that may be part of your problem in certain situations, especially when you get into a little bit of background noise. The benefits of early and proper intervention can reduce or eliminate some of these problems with permanent distortion, and that cannot be overstated, Joe.
Jennifer, knowing me and trying to make me understand what you're saying all the time, what is your comment about what John and I are talking about?
I'm behaving myself right now. Actually, and I think I've mentioned this before on the radio. My sister has hearing aids. She's 2 years older than I am. I think she got them. She's had them for at least 6, maybe 8 years. So she was in her early 40s when she got them. But she had a lot of issues as a kid, a lot of ear infections, burst eardrums, things like that. And, you wouldn't suspect it of someone that young, early 40s, having hearing loss. And it was amazing, the difference. And, of course, she fought it. I'm too young to have hearing aids. But once she got them, she was so excited. She was running around trying to have everybody try them on because she wanted them to experience this awesome thing that she was experiencing. Like, no, that's all right. You keep them in your ears. But, I think early intervention is key. That it made a huge difference for her. And, of course, to kind of follow up on that question, it has been probably 6 years. And I know that technology, with every aspect of technology, it's amazing how much things change. How often do you recommend people change their hearing aids out because the technology has improved and changed?
Well, there's a couple of factors there that we talk about. Of course, the progression of the hearing loss. Most hearing losses, over 90% of all hearing losses, involve the inner ear or the cochlea. That is a sensorineural or a nerve loss. It's chronic. There's nothing that can improve the function of the inner ear, and it's progressive. Now, the progressive part is important because that means it's getting worse all the time. We measure it every year or more often if we need to. But that's going to be one of the big factors in recommending upgrading your hearing aids are the hearing aids still within your range? Hearing aids are very tough little instruments. When you consider that they're being put into an ear that's almost 100 degrees, it has oil in there, they're being exposed to the humidity and shocks, and people get into the shower with them. We know that.
I know that too.
They won't say so, but we know. So
I hollered, Terry, come get my hearing aids.
Then they come to the office, open the battery door, and it's dripping with water. But no, I didn't get in the shower. Oh, anyway. If other people, we have to be concerned with budgets. Hearing aids are relatively expensive. So as the new technology comes out, we always make people aware of what the new technology is. And when it comes to the point where they're just trying to get too much out of their hearing aids, we'll have to say, look, it's time to upgrade. But a lot of people will upgrade their hearing aids every 3 to 6 years just due to the new technology, because it has just been increasing at a rate that is unbelievable lately.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt. I hate to do this because this is turning into a really good show. But we are up against our break, and it's time to take a short 2-minute break, and we'll be right with it back. And stay with us because there's another aspect about COVID-19 we want to talk about.
Get back to more of the show, and once again, here's your host, Joe Steckler.
And holy Christ, people went ballistics over that.
And we're on.
You hear me all right? Okay, tell me when it's time to go. I can't hear anything.
You're in the right place.
We were having so much fun on the break that we didn't want to stop.
I guess getting a squeal through.
This just highlights the importance of hearing.
Okay, this is Joe Steckler, folks. We're back with the second half of the show, and I'll remind everybody that the purpose of the show is to inform, educate, and connect seniors and those that care for seniors with services. And today we have Jennifer Helin from Helping Seniors in the studio, and John Roberts from Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center. And if you've missed the first half of the show, you've missed a really good part of the show, and you'll be able to hear it when Kerry puts it up on our YouTube, Facebook, and everything else. But if you missed the first part of the show, I highly recommend that you go up on our Facebook page and everything and pull that show up and listen. You can do it. And I'll ask Kerry to explain how you can do all that stuff because he knows how to do it a lot better than I do. So you start the second part of the show off, Kerry.
Okay, happy to do that, Joe. So if you like to hear any of the Helping Seniors television shows, the radio shows, even the Helping Senior updates, which are those social media things that we do every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, trying to keep people up to date on what's going on here in Brevard County. You can find all of that at helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. That's our website, helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. If you're a YouTuber, you can go directly to our Helping Seniors of Brevard YouTube channel. There are videos, Joe, going back, well, probably close to 10 years now, because we've been at this for quite a while, and all the radio shows are there as well. So in particular, if you're interested in what we're talking about today, which I think if you're dealing with someone that you might even think has dementia, you may want to rule out this hearing thing before we go any farther. So you want to definitely check. We've done television shows with John. We just did a Helping Seniors update, and as soon as tomorrow, we'll have this radio show up and available so you can hear it on demand.
But I was going to let you all talk where I got interrupted again myself. John, I've been involved with dementia people now for over 30 years. You are the first person that has ever talked on a radio or television show about suggesting that people get their hearing aid or their hearing tested and the relationship between that and dementia. I have never heard anybody talk about that, and I've attended the National Alzheimer's Association meetings. I ran an Alzheimer's program. Never did I hear anybody talk about it. So what I'm saying here, folks, is that you can never have enough information. You just don't know what you're missing if you don't try to find out different ways to help yourself. And Jennifer, I'd like, before we get and lose, and all the time goes away, you mentioned something very important, I think, and John will probably have some comments on this from the hearing aid aspect side of it, talking about our concern during the COVID-19 problem about senior abuse, elder abuse. And I think that if you could just start off what your concerns are, what you're finding out with the people being shut in, and John talking about what he's talking about, I'm sure that he can see that failure for families to continue to have their seniors and their elders, family members, evaluated over certain things is really abuse.
It most certainly is, and it's a subject that's very dear and near to my heart. having practiced for over 30 years, of course, you develop a lot of very strong relationships with people and you get to know their families. But something that seems to be a common issue with people that suffer from hearing loss or dementia is with the difficulty to communicate. It does test family members and other people that may be in contact. It tests their patience.
Yes.
If you're living with somebody or you're caring for somebody that may have a hearing loss, and you find yourself being a little bit stressed out, you're tired of repeating yourself, or you feel like you're being ignored, this is something that you should think about. Is that the person may be just not hearing you the way they should be. They're not doing anything intentional. And I think once you're aware of that, it'll be a lot easier to deal with. But it is something that will add to the anxiety and the stress that goes along with elder abuse, Joe.
Jennifer?
So June was Elder Abuse Awareness Month. And within June, we celebrate the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, which unfortunately, because of COVID, we really didn't get to do this year here in Brevard County like we normally do. I work with Brevard County Triad, and we have continued to post things on their Facebook page about elder abuse. And that concern has gone through the month of June and into July, specifically because of COVID and because we are isolated. We are concerned that there are seniors out there who are isolated and don't have that avenue to get out and to socialize, where someone else, out in public may see that, hey, there's a concern here. This person is not eating enough. This person has bruises. This person is being taken advantage of financially. There aren't as many eyes out there. Mm-hmm. So there are things that are going on that are not being reported. And we know that it's stressful. Everybody's very stressed right now. So that additional stress of family caregivers who don't have the avenue to maybe drop their loved one off at daycare. There's a big concern out there among the geriatric physicians, in the different senior groups that, our seniors are more at risk right now than ever before. So we want to make sure that people are really checking in with their neighbors as safely as possible and reaching out. If you're a family caregiver who needs help, that you are reaching out and asking for help, because COVID is making everyone anxious. But add, a family caregiver on top of that with someone with dementia who is asking, questions over and over and over again and not having the opportunity to go out and have a little bit of free mental health time. This is a rough situation.
Well, you're also adding to the seclusion period. And people are being secluded so long without seeing somebody else. And I remember Terry and I took a lady to church all the time, and this lady had a system of flag in front of her house. And when she did this, she turned the flag one way and did it the other. Well, the long story short was she got the flag signals mixed up with the neighbors, and she spent over 36 hours in her bathtub. Mm-hmm. She couldn't get out. She fell. Mm-hmm. And then the people realized the flag had not been moved, went to the house, found her in the tub, and took care of her. But the thing is, you never can make assumption that everything is all right. Sometimes you just got to use your intuition and check on somebody.
And one of the things that I wanted to mention today too is, back in my former life, I was a Brevard County school teacher, and as a teacher, I did have to call the Department of Children and Family Services when I suspected abuse. We were mandatory reporters. I did have to do that as a teacher on a couple of kids, and you hate to do that. It's something that you really mull over before you make that phone call. But with seniors, it's a different world. With a senior, DCF will go in and look to see what's really happening and offer services. They're not going to take that senior and rip them right out of their home. They want to keep that senior at home and independent as possible, with the tools that they need. So I think sometimes people are hesitant. They have this image of what Department of Children and Family Services is going to do, and it's going to be this horrible, horrible thing. And in the case of an adult or a senior, they're going to go and look and assess, and hopefully the senior will accept that additional help that they are offering. It's not, the stigma needs to be taken away.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I've had to do that myself. And I told the person if they didn't get help, I would call Protective Services. They did not do what I asked them to do. I called Protective Services. They got involved, and I don't even know how much it got cleaned up, but a lot of it got cleaned up. But the woman has never talked to me since then, but that's okay. That's okay. You have to call the professionals and let the professionals make the decision sometime. But I also recommend if you call a professional, try your best to follow up and see what was really done, because you know, when you get in a world of watching people care for people, it's really hard to trust what somebody else is doing unless you follow up and make sure you know yourself. Kerry, you're nodding. I know you want to say something, but
well, I was just thinking we had done a Helping Seniors television program not so long ago with Teresa Russell, who is the communications person with Adult Protective Services Division of DCF. And one of the things that she pointed out in that TV program was really alluding to the same thing that Jennifer has been talking about, is she goes, you know, people are under the impression that somehow we want to rip, you know, grandma or grandpa out of the home or something like that. And she said, that's not it at all. In fact, it's the reverse. We want to make sure that grandma and grandpa can stay safely at home. And so really what Jennifer was describing is the approach is going to be to try to just find the right way to keep the seniors safe, and in the with the least amount of, I guess, disruption or things like that, but just to make sure that the senior is safe. And actually that brings me to a topic that I thought I would want to ask Jennifer a little bit about too, is that I think that's one of the benefits that an organization like Seniors Helping Seniors is able to do, is particularly during these COVID times. Maybe it's someone who tries to help mom or dad, but they're out of state and they can't travel in right now. Or it could be a case where somebody who might be a caregiver is having health issues of their own right now and needs to call somebody. Or it could be simply that because of all the COVID precautions, it's not possible for a friendly neighbor to get around and check on someone. Are you finding a lot of that going on with Seniors Helping Seniors now?
So we are. We have several families that we work with. The senior is here in Florida, has retired here, but the kids are up in New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, out in California, so they don't have the ability to travel here right now. And so we are kind of the eyes, the ears here in Florida, checking in on mom or dad and making sure that they have their groceries, that they're okay, that they are safe, and that they are staying isolated but social still. One of the things that we've been pointing out to new customers is that we really are seniors helping seniors. So everyone that we hire is 50 and over. Most of our people are in their 60s, early 70s. So our main focus is to keep our caregivers safe, because we're at a higher risk ourselves. So we really make sure that all of our folks have masks, hand sanitizer, their proper hand washing. They know the signs for the virus. They are isolating. They're basically going to work, going home, going to the grocery store. They're not going out and frequenting restaurants or places with a lot of people. They're really trying to keep themselves safe so that when we do go out to a client's house, we're keeping them safe. So thank goodness, and I'm going to knock on wood here, to date, we've not had one caregiver or one client catch the virus, and we're hoping to be able to maintain that throughout, even with these high numbers. It's our goal that we're keeping everybody safe, but that we're also keeping them their social emotional aspect of all of this, that we're keeping them safe that way as well.
I think there's also something very important to mention before we get off the show this morning is there are a number of companies. In fact, the Air Force commissary does it, Publix does it, and there's a couple of organizations that will shop for you. And I think you do the same thing, don't you, Jennifer?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, you go out and the people can just simply call you, tell you what they want. You go to the store and get it for them and take it and put it on their doorstep and ring the doorbell, and you can step back if they're that cautious. And we know one person that is that cautious. And she when somebody comes into the house, she'll disinfect each piece of food that comes into her house. She's that cautious. But it's something to think about, that there are so many services out there that help people, and you can. I want to give our office number for people. I forget it. It's 321-473-7770. If you have questions about what John is talking about, what we're talking about, you can take that phone. In fact, Kerry's taking the phone away from Jennifer. Go ahead, Kerry.
No, I was just going to add a point. When Jennifer said that, it reminded me of something that I wanted to share today. Our president was speaking yesterday that he said, the COVID thing may go on for a while. And so I guess, I know we're all tired of these words like new normal and all of that, but there is something that it made me think of, Jennifer, when you said that you have been able to keep everybody connected through Seniors Helping Seniors COVID-free. And I know when I was talking with John Roberts about Palm Bay Hearing Aid Center, and he was talking about the extensive things that they go through to make sure your visit is completely safe, sanitized. We've talked with Bill Johnson about the same thing, about the extraordinary lengths they go to at the law office to keep everything safe.
Yeah.
And every single person that I've talked to, from Zon Beachside to Hibiscus Court to lots of caregivers, everybody has been able to keep the people connected COVID-free. And I think that's actually, number one, it's a powerful story about how the people connected with helping seniors, us, really do take what they do seriously about protecting our seniors. But number two, it gives me great hope that if we do the right things, the things that they've told us, washing the hands, wearing the safe mask, face masks, all those kind of things, we can get through the COVID-19 thing safely.
Yeah, and I wrote an article about this very same thing. It was published in the Hometown News, and we've had comments on that already. People do read what's published there. It's a stress always to get those articles done, and I should have an article coming out this Friday in the paper. But it's there's always something to write about, something to talk about. You just have to sit down and do it. The one thing that I wanted to talk on this morning, just real briefly, in some of the time we got left, is John. I mentioned before that you're a family-owned business, and I asked you about this. You see these big, I'm gonna call them hearing aid giants. They take a whole page in Florida Today, and they got everything from a little thing that you stick in the ear for $99, all the way up to something that's costing $5,000. And I hope I might be. Is it possible? Is as much as $5,000 per hearing aid, or is that for two?
Well, there are hearing systems that can approach $5,000 or exceed $5,000.
That's for one ear?
Per hearing aid. The one that I'm thinking of off the top of my head is a very advanced hearing system. It has a GPS sensor in it, so if a patient were to fall down, it would text their family members and let them know. It takes their temperature, it takes their blood pressure. So the hearing aids are starting to incorporate other sciences or medical treatments. So, but for good hearing aid technology, you don't need to spend anywhere near $5,000 per hearing aid. But on the other hand, you're not going to get much for $100, Joe.
I know that.
The thing that Kerry and I were talking earlier, and he emphasizes every time I talk to him that part of his program involves discussing that people plan their college, they plan their career, they plan their retirement, and then they retire and they don't make plans anymore. All of a sudden, what do we do now? Well, you're probably going to incur some health issues when you retire. You're almost certainly going to. One of the common ones is hearing loss. Hearing aids are not free. Unfortunately, there are no big insurance companies that are just going to say you get whatever hearing aid you want. They're all going to have stipulations of one type or another. So part of your retirement planning would be to get your hearing tested and see if you need to budget something in your life to assure yourself that you're going to have continuing good health care from a good provider. And I know I see those advertisements too, and for the life of me, I don't understand who could pick that up and think they're going to get a hearing aid for $100. But I don't know how they operate or what they're doing. You need to weigh your hearing loss, your lifestyle, and your budget to find a solution. And for almost everybody, we will find a solution.
Okay, something. Jennifer's eyes opened real wide when you made that comment about technology and somebody falling and
how cool is that?
Isn't that something?
it's interesting, but can you talk about that a little bit more? Can you there are people that really would want to purchase something like that because
and we do have part of Seniors Helping Seniors. When we go out, we always ask if you have an emergency alert button, and so many people do not. So we have this year started to offer the electronic caregiver, which is an emergency alert system. And I talked to, I just lost his name, Dr. Risa's husband. He and I go back and forth all the time about the technology and that the technology is out there. We just have to be able to get to it in a better way. So if you have to wear hearing aids already, to be able to incorporate all of that other technology in there is just a no-brainer, and that's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. No matter what you buy, you're probably going to get what you pay for. But when you're incorporating technology that might be invaluable for somebody that did fall down, or that they caught a fever, with their hearing aids, or they were able to communicate with their kids during a crisis, these things, have a basic inherent value on their own, along with the general benefits of correcting a hearing loss that's devastating you in many other ways. Also, we've made terrific advances in telehealth. We can fit somebody with hearing aids today, and we need to get them in person because you can only test somebody's hearing in person. You need to put a set of headphones on them and do the proper audiological evaluation in a soundproof room with a qualified technician. Once we get the hearing aids on you, you can go home. If you have a problem in a month or two, you can call us, turn your smartphone on, and we'll hook your hearing aids up to your smartphone over the phone and adjust and program the hearing aids while you're on the phone. You can even go to a restaurant that you're having trouble with, and we can adjust your hearing aids and put a program in there for that particular restaurant or a family gathering or a meeting that you want to hear better at. So there's a lot of new technologies that are up and they're already being marketed, and they're successfully being fit every day. And you won't find out about those unless you ask about it.
We're almost out of time, and I want to thank Dr. Fink for being here. Most of all, I want to thank John Roberts for what he's brought to the show today, and Jennifer Helin. You see two aspects of this thing from hearing, but I'll tell you, as a hearing loss person, a hearing survivor, I'm going to tell you, if you want to get your hearing aids checked and get your ears checked, I really highly recommend that you go see John. I have never heard this kind of stuff on any radio show I've ever done, folks, and I'm going to have him back. So, with that thought, thank you, John. Thank you, Jennifer, and I hope you've enjoyed the show, folks, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you kindly. Bye-bye.